Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examinations. What we will try and understand in today's Hindu analysis are a couple of important articles which are important from your pre as well as mains perspective. We have taken topics from your GS paper 1, GS paper 2 and GS 3 perspective. Let us try and understand what are these articles. The first article is with respect to India and Greece relationship. The article here is trying to re-emphasize that despite not much activity between India and Greece, what we have been able to accomplish and sustain is the beautiful diplomatic relationship between India and Greece. So what we will try and understand is we will try and understand the historical picture. We will try and understand recent Prime Minister Modi's visit to Greece and the outcome of this particular visit. What are the strategic importance of India and Greece and some of the issues that have been surfacing, and what is the way forward when it comes to India and Greece relationship. First, we have to understand why is this topic in picture. That is because we recently had Prime Minister Narendra Modi who made a visit to Greece. This particular visit happened after 40 years, which means to say the last time the Prime Minister of India visited Greece was in the year 1983. This was by Indira Gandhi ji. So after 1983, in the year 2023, what we have is the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to the country of Greece. So it took 40 years for another Prime Minister to visit Greece, and the last time it happened was in the year 1983. What is the importance of it? Why is this significant? That is because when you look at a couple of European countries, let's say for example, we have France, we also have Germany as well, we also have Italy as well. What we have been able to achieve is a constant relationship. We have had historical relationship and we are able to re-emphasize the fact that these countries have a constant bonhomie within India as well as these countries. But when it comes to Greece, it was not so. There was a silent spectrum. There was not much of transactions that were happening between India and Greece in order to settle it, in order to make sure that we have more transactions at the diplomatic level. We have the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, which happened after the BRICS summit. So what we have to understand in this particular backdrop is the historical picture, the outcome of the present visit. When did India achieve this success? Immediately after India became independent, the first time that India was able to establish the relationship was in the year 1950. So the first time this relationship came into picture was in the year 1950, and subsequently India in the year 1978 also established what is called as the embassy in Athens in 1978. So immediately after independence, we were able to have diplomatic connections, and in the year 1978 we also established an embassy in Greece as well. So in order to ensure that we have a constant connect with India and Greece, a diplomatic embassy was established in the year 1978. So this visit happens to re-establish the same faith between India and Greece. What was the outcome of this entire meet? We had Prime Minister Narendra Modi who went on to visit Greece. What exactly happened during this visit? What was the outcome of this visit? What is the importance of this visit? That is because India and Greece have agreed to establish a strategic partnership. This strategic partnership will be on the base of strategic front, on the economic front, on the trade front, and also on diaspora front as well. So we have India and Greece which have also accepted that what they will have is a dialogue mechanism between the national security advisors. These national security advisors will speak about a couple of issues. One is to do with internal security, second is to do with terrorism, and third is to do with other defense related modules as well. In fact, India has also said that it is wanting to support Greece on all fronts. They are also planning to establish and bring in more defense equipment sales as well. So the national security advisors will speak, they will have a dialogue, and ultimately all the issues that have been surfacing will be discussed amidst the national security advisors. So basically the national security advisors will bring in all the aspects of security related concerns of both these countries, and if there are any issues, these will be discussed. Another part of this interaction was with respect to tourism, trade and migration of labor. As of now, we do have economic relationship with Greece. This has to be further intensified. What we require is more numbers in the picture as well. As of now, the trade is about $2 billion. This will be increased further according to the new agreement. There will be early finalization of the mobility and migration partnership agreement to facilitate skilled migration between the two countries. India, as we all know, is known for its service sector. India's service sector exports will further be increased, and this skill that India has will also be exported as part of the mobility and migration partnership agreement. So what will India do? India will provide all kinds of training that is required for Greece when it comes to the service industry, and at the same time they are planning to also establish a much better diaspora relationship. So there will also be connection of the direct flights. As of now, there are very less number of direct flights between India and Greece. So what we will also bring in is reforms when it comes to aircraft sector, where we will have more number of direct flights between the two countries. One is to boost terrorism, the other is basically to boost the connectivity. So in order to give boost to these sectors of diaspora interaction, tourism as well as connectivity, direct flights will also be taken up. MOUs, that is Memorandum of Understandings, were also signed in the field of research for agriculture production, animal rearing, electronics and pharmaceutical sector. The two also decided that they will also work on the infrastructure front, agriculture front, education front, new emerging technologies, and these will be imported and exported simultaneously as well. What are the issues that are persisting when it comes to Greece? When you consider Greece, what is the major issue for them? When you look at Europe as a continent, you have few countries which are called as the PIGS economy. What is this PIGS economy? Let's say, for example, you have Portugal, let's say we have Italy, we have Greece, and then we also have Spain. That is why it is called as PIGS economy. The PIGS economy, or the countries, these countries have not good relationship when it comes to their own economics, which means to say their economics is not doing good. They are taking a lot of loans from the International Monetary Fund, and at the same time they are squeezing in a lot of funds from the European Union as well. In fact, we've had countries like France, we've also had countries like Germany, which have been giving a lot of funding as well. That is because these countries, the PIG economies, have not been doing good, especially the country of Greece. In fact, the Greece policy was in such a way that they were providing a lot of freebies as well. They were providing a lot of lucrative opportunities to the people in their own country. They used to provide a lot of freebies. Their economy was not doing good, and one of the major problem for Greece happens to be their economy. Since they were not able to run their economy properly of late, they have overcome that particular issue. But in the past, if you've seen last 5 years and 10 years, what Greece has had is the major economic debacle. So we have had issues in Portugal, Italy, Spain as well, but amidst the PIGS economy, the major problem was in terms of Greece. So Greece had a problem on the economic front, and at the same time they were also over indebted to the Chinese investments as well. We also know for the fact that how China works. When it comes to China, what they have is the debt trap diplomacy. When you look at the debt trap diplomacy, what will happen? If you consider the example of Sri Lanka, or you consider a couple of examples in Africa. When it comes to Sri Lanka, what we have is the Hambantota port. The Hambantota port happens to be one of the learning lessons to the countries world over. What happened in Hambantota port? What Sri Lanka was doing was, it was not doing its economy really well. They had their economy which was not working out good. They had to import a lot of money from China, and at the same time when they are taking some money from China, it also means China does not give money that easily. China has deep pockets, no doubt about it, but China is giving money, it is very meticulous, and it also has a precise planning as well. So Hambantota port, where large number of people are not present, then there are not much activities in that particular area. Chinese made investments in the Hambantota port, and ultimately this infrastructural project was not successful. Sri Lanka was not able to pay back the money, and what does China do? China takes over this Hambantota port. There was a lease agreement. They were not able to pay the required amount. They had made huge investments. Once they were not able to pay back the credit that was taken, this port was taken by the Chinese. Similar such events have also taken place in Africa as well. So one such issue that Greece has also been facing is the large credit that it has taken from the Chinese, and this happens to be another major issue. So what are the two major issues? One is with respect to the economy, where there was lavish spending on the economic front of Greece, and this had created a lot of troubles for Greece. You had European countries which were able to support them. Despite the support that was given by the European countries, Greece faced a lot of economic turmoil. Added to it, as we just discussed, China is known for its debt trap diplomacy, and one such country which also had a lot of investments from the China and was suffering from China is Greece. So in order to overcome all these issues, they did make a couple of changes over a period of time. When you consider the European politics, Greece also has issues with Turkey. They have territorial disputes, they have border issues as well. In order to overcome these territorial disputes and the border disputes, what they have been able to do is strengthen their ties with Israel as well as Cyprus. This is where India also comes into picture. We know for the fact that India and Pakistan have a troubled relationship. Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India, will always remain an integral part of India, and will be an integral part of India for eternity. Pakistan may claim, Pakistan may say that Jammu and Kashmir is theirs and all that, but that will not happen for its entire lifetime. You also have our Jammu and Kashmir, a part of it is currently occupied by Pakistan. What does Turkey do? Turkey has nothing to do with Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It has got nothing to do with Jammu and Kashmir. But time and again, what does it do? It starts supporting Pakistan. While there is interference by Pakistan in Jammu and Kashmir, Turkey supports this very idea of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So on one side, Greece and Turkey have issues with respect to Cyprus and other territorial disputes. On the other side, India and Pakistan have disputes with respect to Jammu and Kashmir, and Turkey is indirectly supporting Pakistan. So India also has to give a subtle message to Turkey as well. So what is India doing? Now if you support POK, that is the claim of Pakistan, we know where we have to hit you hardly. Since there are territorial disputes between Greece and Turkey, India is supporting Greece. So Greece and Armenia are perceived as a direct challenge by the trilateral alliance of Azerbaijan, Pakistan and Turkey. So Azerbaijan, Pakistan and Turkey have a triple alliance. Similarly, Greece and Armenia have come together, and now they have been supported by India as well. Why is India supporting them? That is because Turkey has taken a cause of Pakistan. So India is supporting Greece and Armenia. Armenia and Azerbaijan have issues. Greece and Turkey has issues. India and Pakistan has issues. So those countries which are in favor of each other are supporting each other. In fact, India has also provided some of the defense equipments to Armenia as well. They are also increasing the defense exports from India to Armenia as well. So what we have is a trilateral understanding between Greece, Armenia and India, because Turkey, Azerbaijan and Pakistan have come together. So the advantage and the major lesson for Turkey is not to involve in third party issues. So the third party here is India and Pakistan. Why is Turkey involving? So there is a subtle message that is sent by India to Turkey that do not speak about Pakistan and India's relationship when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir. What are the other areas of geopolitical concerns? When we speak about Mediterranean region, what we are currently witnessing is the growing influence of China in this region. China also has its influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Is China directly present in China? Is China directly present in the Mediterranean region? They are trying to influence this region, but are they directly present? Yes, they are present through their connections with other countries. But who is directly present? It happens to be Greece. Greece happens to be a country which is present in the Mediterranean region. When you consider the Mediterranean region, there is lot of energy reserves as well. These energy reserves are required for India because India happens to be an energy deficient country. So what has India done? By speaking to Greece in the present situation, one, it is able to speak to Greece, get the energy reserves, and also put down the influence of China in the Mediterranean region. So on one side, Greece happens to be a Mediterranean region country and India happens to be an Indo-Pacific country. So both these countries which have an influence in their own regions are now coming together. Greece happens to have influence in the Mediterranean region. India happens to have influence in the Indian Ocean. So these two countries are coming together so that they can also become oceanic powers in their respective regions. So they are influencing each other, coming together, and their bond army is increasing so that the China's influence in this part of the Mediterranean region is controlled over a period of time. Added to it, Indian companies are also seeking entry into Europe through the port of Piraeus. So remember, we have the port of Piraeus, which happens to be a port which is present in Greece. This can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. This happens to be the region's largest port and a key hub for Asia-Europe connectivity. This is to do with your political and strategic relationship. And now if we have to speak about economic relationship, India and Greece aim to double their bilateral trade by 2030, which is currently valued at $2 billion in 2020-23. With its rebounded economy, Greece has returned to the global scene as a credible economic player, yet the country still has the second lowest GDP per capita in the EU after Bulgaria. India has supported Greece's position on Turkey-occupied northern Cyprus and its islands dispute with Turkey in the Aegean Sea. For Greece, India is an enormous potential market for its food products including olives, feta cheese, Greek yogurt, retsina, astriko wines that comprise more than a third of the Greek exports. Plenty of infrastructure opportunities are available for Indians who can work in Greece. GMR's successful bid in 2017 for 850 million euros to create Crete Airport project. Where is this Crete Airport project? This happens to be present in the country of Greece, has paved the way for this. Even though Indian businesses have regularly participated in the annual Telonsky International Fair, bilateral investments have remained below potential. So what India and Greece are also exploring is to make sure that all the impediments that are existing with respect to the industrial sector are also reduced. Greece hopes for Indian investments in strategic sectors including pharmaceuticals, renewables, technology, agriculture in accordance with its Greece 2.0 plan for the economic transformation. So all those issues that have been existing between India and Greece will have to be addressed. Greece has become a Mediterranean power and India is known for its maritime strategy. If both of them collaborate, we would be able to come together in terms of hydro energy, in terms of navigation, and in terms of security. And it is the right time, given the opportunities, that we can come together and bring greater influence in our own regions, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about India needs a comprehensive sexuality education. The article here brings into picture the idea of sex education from the school levels at the grassroots level as well. Why is this taken into picture? What is the context? Recently, there was an issue that happened in our country. This happens to be one of the bleak incidents that has taken place. It throws the horrific picture as to how sex education is very important and is the need of the hour. What exactly happened? There was a dad and his minor son who have sexually abused a girl. a girl who happens to be a minor who is less than 18 years of age. What exactly happened? The father and the minor son have sexually abused this girl, saying that this is a game. Such is the abysmal state, the poor state that this father had engaged with. So this practically also shows that the girl was not aware. She was not aware as to what was happening with her body. She was sexually exploited. She assumed for a moment that this is a game that is being played. She did not know the good about it, the bad about it. She did not know the idea of good touch or the bad touch. So the idea being that when there is a girl who is less than 18 years of age, who does not know what is good touch or bad touch, and just in the name of a game there is a sexual predator and his minor son who have sexually abused a girl. So what this article says is that in the name of a girl, in the name of a game, a girl is being abused sexually. So in order to overcome such circumstances in the near future, in order to prevent such issues surfacing in the near future, what we require is a comprehensive sexuality education, which is the need of the hour. Now the question is, what is this sexuality education, or what is this sex education? If we go by the data, according to the according to the data by the National Crime Records Bureau, 51,863 cases were reported under the Protection of the Children from the Sexual Offences Act in 2021. Of them, 33,348 or 64% were of sexual assault. In order to overcome these sexual assaults, what we require is teaching our children what is good touch, what is bad touch, and about sex education. And if you look at most of these cases, they have also been committed by the near and dear ones. It has been their near and dear ones who will be the friends, the trusted friends, who will also be people like their own brothers, in few scenarios their uncles as well, and in exceptional circumstances, in the most horrific of ways, it can also be their fathers as well. So how do we teach these children? Is through the means of sex education. So what is this sex education all about? This is about quality teaching and learning from a broad topics with respect to the sex education, sex and sexuality, which means to say that the younger generation, as per their age, as per the scientific program, as per the age appropriate information, will be taught what is good touch versus what is bad touch. So if a person who is less than 18 years of age, especially who is less than 10 years of age, if a person is going on to touch another girl or a boy in an inappropriate manner, whether that touch is right or wrong should be known to that particular child. Who will teach it? One, it can be the parent at their house, or it can be the teachers at their school as well. So what we require is a scientific curriculum as per the age and gender, and this has to be taught in a right way, so that in case there is an issue with respect to the girl or a boy, they would be able to voice out their concern. So in the present instant, there was a father and his minor son who sexually abused a girl, saying that it is a game. If such things are showed, if such things reoccur, the girl or a boy would know what is right and wrong, and she can also voice her concern or his concern to their parents or the teachers. So we will be teaching them what is good touch and the bad touch, when and how to say no. Let's say for example, they should have an understanding about the private body parts. If someone tries to touch their private body parts or sexualize the private body parts, in that case they have to immediately say no. They can even shout as well when they feel immediately unsafe when a person is trying to touch their private parts, and they have to know what is appropriate content, what is inappropriate content. If there is inappropriate content, they have to ring alarm bells immediately. And children will also have to be taught about periods and the sanitary hygiene. They have to know the basics of reproduction in a way that they understand. They have to be explained about childbirth in detail, what are the consequences of sex, and the safety and consent. If all these aspects are taught to the children, they will be having a much better idea, and we would be able to prevent or even reduce these sexual assaults, is what is this article all about. So basically what we have to come up with is a scientific curriculum. This will scientifically accurately give out the information to the children, and these are tailor made according to their ages, and ultimately they cover a whole set of topics about sexuality, reproductive health throughout the childhood as well as the adolescence. So this article goes on to say that we have United Nations as well as couple of other organizations which has re-emphasized this very fact. An effective approach would be comprehensive sexuality education, which according to United Nations is a curriculum based process of teaching and learning about the cognitive, emotional, physical and social aspects of sexuality. As the UN Population Fund has said, the right of access to comprehensive sexuality education is grounded in the fundamental human rights and is a means to empower young people to protect their health, well-being and dignity. Remember, we are giving you these statements so that you can use these statements in your mains examination as well. You can say that UN Population Fund says so and so. You have the UN Global Guidance which says so and so. You have the 3 decades of research, the case for comprehensive sex education, which says so and so. So the UN Global Guidance recommends starting comprehensive sexuality education from the age of 5 along with formal education, and we have the World Health Organization with comprehensive sexuality education, which should be better informed about their rights and sexuality and will be more likely to engage in sexual activity later. And NCRB data show that it is necessary for schools to impart comprehensive sexuality education not only to children but also to parents and caregivers. Data show that both male and female children are victims of sexual abuse. If we are able to inculcate these practices to the children, we would be able to reduce the sexual assault against the children. But what are the major issues when it comes to sex education? When it comes to the sex education, it is the state which has to take the responsibility. But what is happening of late is that we are turning over conservative in few pockets. We say that these are the traditional areas, there are some Indian values that are attached to it, so we should not be speaking about the sex and the sexuality affairs. So this basically means that they will have no idea about ill effects of sex, they will have no idea about what is good touch and bad touch. This ultimately could create issue, a larger turmoil, a mental catastrophe for these children who have been going through it. As an advocate, I'm practicing before the Karnataka High Court. I have seen couple of cases in the FTSC, which is the Fast Track Sessions Court, where a 4-year child has been sexually abused by her own brother. How can we change it? One is to bring in the sensitivity with respect to their family members as well. If we do not teach these brothers, if we do not teach these children what is good and bad, it is the children as well as these people who will become the major sufferers. Added to it, unwanted pregnancy can also become a major issue. If a person is going through an abortion process, this can have a permanent imprint on that particular child as well. In order to prevent these kind of scenarios, what we require is sex education. So what is the major issue right now? We have been stopping sex education, sexuality education in schools, primarily saying that this is against ethos and our values, but that is not so. It is in line with our ethos, where we respect the women. Yatra naryanto pujante ramante tatra devataha. Where women are respected, gods reside in that particular place. If we cannot respect your bodily autonomy, how are we going to respect the women? So their bodily autonomy has to be taken into picture. Their consent has to be taken into picture. How is the consent taken? How is this consent given? Is all taught as part of the sex education. So sex education is the need of the hour, and that has to be part of the curriculum. Whether it is against ethos or not should be decided as per the curriculum. So if the curriculum is segregated and compartmentalized as per the age, and if the person is taught in a right way, then that person is able to give out the information in the right way as well. Added to it, parents should also be taken into confidence. The guardians who are present and taking care of the child should also be taken into confidence, and teachers should also be given this information, and they should also be taught as well as to how to approach such topics, so that sex education is given to the children in order to prevent sexual assault. So what is that we understand from this article? That this particular issue is continued to stay, and this issue will have to be stopped and broken at the bud for which what we require is sensitivity towards the topic and how this information has to be dispersed from the teachers, from the parents to the students, to the minors as well as children. So the first key lesson is sensitivity and teaching the children what is good touch and bad touch. If it is a bad touch, they have to ring alarm bells immediately after it, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article says China releases new map showing territorial claims. The article here is speaking about China's aggressive way of projecting itself. What exactly happens? China is one such country which is always sleeping in its dreams. It wakes up one fine day and it says that we were a huge country in the year 1970s. We were a huge country in the 14th century. We were a huge civilization in the 7th century. So it wakes up and all of a sudden says that this was the huge country that we possessed, and we will continue to have the same country despite having the modern politics and international order. So what does China do? China says that as per the 14th century map, this is our map, this is our country, this is the boundary that we have drawn, and we need to stick by this particular boundary. And one such boundary that they continuously start reiterating is with respect to the 9 dashed lines. Where is this 9 dashed lines? This is in the South China Sea. There are many countries in the South China Sea which also lay claim to their territorial borders. We know for the fact that according to the international conventions that we currently have, every country would be able to lay claim to its territorial water 12 nautical miles. But what does China do? China believes that it is not the country which has to follow the international order. It does not want to respect the sovereignty of another country. So historically in the 4th century, in the 7th century, in the 12th century, 14th century, it had a precise meaning and a civilization. Let's bring back that particular order. So what it is trying to re-emphasize, and it is a loony approach of China, is that it brings in this age-old mapping into picture and says, as per historically, this was our map. Once we were governing, so can India say that Akhand Bharat, which was our own concept of India, where we had all these huge countries, is now part of India? No, we cannot say that. The modern politics and the modern boundary system has a clear-cut clarity, and there is an international order as well. Why are you not respecting this international order, dear China, is the question that we need to ask, but that's how they work. So one such example is the 9 dashed lines, which China believes is the historical mapping that it has had. So every country will have to follow these historical lines and the 9 dashed lines, and we will not follow the international order. This is one such issue. And with respect to India as well, what China does is it tries to reimpose its hegemony and the dominance. How does it do it? China basically feels that there are certain events which India should not take place. We are a sovereign country, we are the largest democracy in the world, we are the country with the largest human power, and we are an aspiring superpower. Who is China to dictate terms to us? There is a person who comes to India which China may not like. What does it do? It immediately rakes up an issue. Let's say we have Dalai Lama ji, who immediately comes to India. He makes some statements. China is immediately angry about it. He says that Dalai Lama should not visit India. He should not speak about a certain topic. United States of America and India will have a exercise, and this is not taken up lightly by China. It rakes up an issues, and now what we have had is the G20 summit in our country. Because India has espoused and support this G20 summit in India, China does not like this event. So whenever there is an issue or an event or a conference which is not acceptable to China, what does it do? It creates a border issue. So each time, look at it very carefully. Whenever there is an event that China does not like, which India can do, and it's sovereign right of India, but what does China do? It immediately rakes up a particular issue of the maps as well. So in the present situation, since we have had the G20 summit, what has China done? China has released the 2023 edition of the standard map of India, which continues to show the entire state of Arunachal Pradesh and the Aksai Chin region within the Chinese borders. This is a clear-cut violation of the sovereign rights of another country. As we discussed, China does not believe in these so-called global orders, international orders. It tries to push in its own agenda in every other country's agenda. And one such example is they have also come up with these border laws as well. These border laws that China came up with was in the year 2022. Under Xi Jinping, Beijing has tightened management of border areas, passing a 2023 border law that lists responsibilities for the civilian and military authorities to take steps to safeguard the national sovereignty. So what has it done? It has said that we have the People's Republic of China. It shall take all steps to mark the border across the country. So they will come up with the marking of the boundary, and this will also be taken up and secured by the People's Republic of Chinese Army. Added to it, we have the People's Liberation of Chinese Army and the Chinese People's Armed Police Force, who will make sure that this particular border is protected by their police as well as the armed forces. So basically what we have is China, which has come up with its own law, and Article 22 calls for the Chinese military to carry out border drills and to resolutely prevent, stop and combat what it calls invasions, encroachments as well as provocations. This is what this article says. So basically China comes up with an issue whenever there is an unsettling issue according to China that happens in India. Now let's look into the next article. This article speaks about Assam Rifles. The article here is important from the preliminary examination point of view. In fact, there was a question in the year 2015 or 2016 in the UPSC examination which asked which of these are the Central Armed Police Forces. So remember, we have about 7 Central Armed Police Forces, which includes Assam Rifles, Border Security Force, Central Industrial Security Force, Central Reserve Police Force, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, National Security Guard as well as Sahastra Seema Bal. These are part of the Central Armed Police Forces, and one of the units which is part of the Central Armed Police Forces happens to be Assam Rifles. It is a central paramilitary force responsible for border security, counter-insurgency, maintaining law and order in the northeast part of India. Its primary duty involves regarding India-Myanmar border. The Assam Rifles is one of the Central Armed Police Force administered by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Assam Rifles is nicknamed as Sentinels of the Northeast. So you might get a preliminary question, which authority or which Central Armed Police Force is called as the Sentinels of Northeast? It happens to be the Assam Rifles, and it is also called by the name Friends of the Hill People. It is the oldest parliamentary force in India. The present day Assam Rifles can trace its origin to a paramilitary force known as Catcher Levi, which was established by the British in 1835 in the Assam region. These are some important facts that you have to remember when it comes to the Assam Rifles. Now let's look into the next article. This article is important from the preliminary examination point of view, and this can be a prospective question in your preliminary examination with respect to the mind maps. So what is this maps all about? This article is speaking about Robotyne. This happens to be a village where in the country of Ukraine. So remember, Robotyne happens to be a village in the country of Ukraine. There are other important cities as well. Let's say for example, you have Tokamak. We also have Zaporizhia, Robotyne. These are important cities and villages in the country of Ukraine. Now, Ukraine has captured back this Robotyne. What is the importance of Robotyne? The village of Robotyne is located on Orkumok-Tokmak road, and it was the biggest obstacle to the Ukrainian armed forces for further advancement, because they had captured this particular region. Russia had captured this region. They were not able to make inroads and make advance for the recapture of the region. Now that they have taken over it, they would be able to make further inroads. It is about 20 kilometers from Robotyne to one of Russia's main logistics hubs in Tokamak, and then the road opens up to main targets of Ukraine's counter-offensive, which happens to be Melitopol. Now that they have taken over Robotyne, they'll be able to take up other areas as well, which has become the logistical point for Russia. Added to it, when we speak about this place, the liberation of Robotyne village opens up new prospects for further advancement, as this settlement is located on the border between first and second line defenses of occupation forces. This means that one of the most difficult obstacle has already been overcome, because the next lines of defense of the Russian Federation are much less fortified. So now that this area is captured, which was already fortified by Russia, the most fortified is now captured, they will be able to make advancements and ultimately take control of many other villages and cities in Ukraine. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. So if you are liking these initiatives, please do like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also share it with the fellow aspirants. Thank you for watching. All the best.